Have you ever set a massive goal and felt a strange mix of hope and pressure at the same time? Telling yourself that in 5 years you must become someone else. That in 1 year your life has to look completely different. Yet every morning you wake up feeling heavier instead of stronger. You go to work. You push yourself. You try to stay disciplined. But beneath the effort, there is an invisible weight sitting on your chest. A quiet voice whispering that if you fail to reach this goal, then you are a failure as a person. That voice slowly changes how you live. You start worrying more than acting. You think more than you move. What was meant to guide you turns into a noose that tightens a little more each day, because every delay feels dangerous and every mistake feels personal. Maybe you have been so afraid of failing that you never truly start. Maybe you charged forward without rest, doing everything you were told would work, only to feel more lost and anxious the harder you tried. Or maybe you reached a goal you chased for years and felt an empty silence right after, realizing the satisfaction vanished faster than the effort that created it. This is not because you are weak. This is not because you lack motivation. It is because you were taught the wrong game. We were told that success requires clear goals, sharp visions, fixed destinations. But no one explained the cost. Goals pull your identity into the future and quietly tell you that who you are right now is not enough. They turn the present into a waiting room and your life into a constant rehearsal. Your self-worth becomes tied to outcomes you cannot fully control. And when life shifts, as it always does, you feel stuck, anxious, and strangely motionless. You are not living. You are waiting to live. And that is why, no matter how hard you try, it feels like you are running in place. This quiet trap exhausts your energy, blurs your confidence, and makes progress feel distant. Because chasing a future version of yourself slowly disconnects you from the power you actually have today, which is the ability to choose, to act, and to build strength in the present moment before it slips away unnoticed while you keep waiting for permission to live fully now. More than 500 years ago, there was a man who looked at the world without romance, without comfort, and without faith in blind hope. And his name was Machiavelli. He did not write to make people feel better about themselves. He wrote to help them survive, remain standing, and maintain control inside a world that was chaotic, unstable, and often unfair. Machiavelli understood a cold truth that still makes people uncomfortable today. The world does not reward intention, it reacts only to position and power. Wanting something means nothing if you are standing in the wrong place. Hoping harder does not move reality. This video will not tell you to dream bigger, to believe more, or to clarify your goals. You have heard that advice before, and if it truly worked, you would not be here listening now. Instead, this video exists to remove the pressure that goals quietly place on your chest every day. The pressure that turns ambition into anxiety and effort into exhaustion. It will help you shift from chasing outcomes you cannot control to shaping the conditions that quietly control outcomes for you. It will show you how to build a way of operating where success does not make you arrogant and failure does not destroy you, because your sense of self is no longer balanced on a single result. This is not self-help. This is self-command. It is about learning how to govern your own actions when motivation disappears and certainty collapses. If you are tired of working hard without feeling stronger, tired of setting goals that never seem to give you control, tired of waiting for the right moment to finally start living, then this is not entertainment for you. This is a recalibration. Because when you stop asking the world for permission and start positioning yourself correctly inside it, something fundamental changes. Pressure turns into clarity, effort turns into leverage, and you finally feel grounded in the present instead of trapped inside a future that never arrives. Let's be honest with each other for a moment and strip away the polite explanations. Why do you really set goals? Not the version you tell people, not the motivational quote version, but the real reason. You don't set goals because you are happy. You set goals because something hurts. You are uncomfortable with your present life. So you draw a picture of the future and hide inside it. The goal becomes an emotional painkiller. It dulls the frustration you feel right now by promising relief later. That is why goals feel good the moment you write them down. Think about it. If you hate your current job, you don't fix the daily reality. You tell yourself that in 5 years, you will quit. If you feel insecure in your body, you don't confront the habits making you weak. You set a goal to lose 10 pounds. If you feel small or behind in life, you don't rebuild your internal foundation. You chase the vague idea of becoming successful. The problem is not the desire to improve. The problem is what happens when your entire sense of self starts living inside a future that does not exist. When you organize your life around a goal, your identity moves forward in time. The present becomes something to endure instead of something to command. Every day quietly whispers that who you are right now is not enough yet. And the most dangerous part is this. The moment that goal shakes, delays, or collapses, you collapse with it. You do not fail because the result didn't arrive. You fail because you tied your worth to an outcome you never fully controlled. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He described the world as fortuna, a force of chaos, luck, and instability that does not care about your plans. Building your life on goals is like building a house on the edge of a river. It looks stable when the water is calm, but when the flood comes, and it always comes, everything is swept away. Goals are rigid by nature. They demand that reality follow the script you wrote in your head. But the world never reads your script. Markets shift, bodies get injured, relationships end, opportunities disappear. And when that happens, the goal-oriented person doesn't adapt. They panic. They feel betrayed by life. They feel like all their effort was wasted. This is why goals quietly make people weaker. They teach you to depend on certainty in a world that offers none. They train you to measure yourself by results instead of resilience. Over time, you become anxious, defensive, and fragile. Not because you lack strength, but because you placed your strength in the wrong place. Power was never supposed to live in the future. Power lives in how you operate today, how you respond when plans break, how quickly you regain balance when reality refuses to cooperate. The moment you understand that goals are not maps, but emotional crutches, something shifts. You stop medicating discomfort with fantasies of later. You start facing the present directly. And that is where real strength begins. Not in hoping that one day things will finally feel different, but in building a way of living that does not collapse when the future refuses to behave. Machiavelli never asked himself the question most people obsess over today. He did not ask, "What do I want to achieve?" He asked something colder and far more dangerous. Where am I standing in this game? That single shift is the line between weakness and power. A goal sounds ambitious on the surface. I want to make $100,000 a year. I want this title. I want that lifestyle. But positioning asks a harder and more honest question. Am I standing in the flow where that money, that influence, that opportunity actually moves? This is the difference most people never see. A man chasing money is always behind it. A man positioned where money circulates becomes unavoidable. Think about a salesperson paid by commission who is always scrambling for the next deal. Comparing that to someone who owns the platform where transactions happen. One runs every day just to stay alive. The other collects value simply by being in the right place. You do not need a goal to be rich. You need to be standing where value is exchanged. The same rule applies everywhere. If you want to be strong, do not set a goal to feel confident. Place yourself in environments that apply pressure, resistance, and demand adaptation. Because strength is a response, not a wish. If you want to become skilled, do not promise yourself improvement someday. Stand next to people who are already better than you, where your current level feels exposed and uncomfortable. If you want wealth, do not obsess over numbers. Stand where leverage exists, where decisions are made, where capital, attention, or authority must pass through someone, and make sure that someone is you. This is why positioning changes the emotional experience of effort. When you live by goals, you are constantly asking, when will it happen? Am I late? Am I behind? Am I failing? When you live by positioning, the question becomes simpler and calmer. Am I in the right place right now? Time stops feeling like an enemy. Progress stops feeling like a race. Results become a byproduct instead of a verdict on your worth. There is a quiet confidence that comes from this shift, because when you know you are standing correctly, you no longer panic about outcomes. You focus on staying present, learning the rules of the environment, adapting to the people and pressures around you. Standing in the right place long enough forces results to appear, not because you hoped harder, but because reality had no alternative. This is why the philosophy cuts so deep. Success is not a destination you reach one day and then relax. Success is a location you occupy, a position you hold while others keep chasing images in their heads. When you change the game from goals to positioning, anxiety loses its grip. You stop bargaining with the future and start dealing with what is in front of you. You are no longer desperate to arrive somewhere else, because power begins to form the moment you stand where it naturally accumulates. And once you feel that shift, once you experience how different life feels when you are no longer running but standing correctly, you realize something unsettling and liberating at the same time. Most people are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they are trying to force results while standing in the wrong place. One of the biggest mistakes of the modern world is not laziness or lack of talent. It is talking too much about things that have not been done yet. Announcing intentions as if intention itself carries weight. You post that you are starting a business. You tell people you are going to the gym. You hint at a big plan that is coming soon. It feels productive, but it is quietly destructive. Machiavelli would have called this strategic suicide, because the moment you speak before you act, two invisible things happen. First, your brain rewards you with dopamine. It gives you the emotional satisfaction of progress without the pain of execution. You feel accomplished before you have earned anything, and that false relief dulls your hunger. The fire weakens. The urgency fades. Second, you create resistance. The moment your goal becomes public, you create an audience. And not all audiences want to see you win. Some watch out of jealousy. Some watch out of doubt. Some watch because your ambition reminds them of their own stagnation. Even when they smile, they observe. They question. They unconsciously pull against you. This is why goals are for display and agendas are for silence. A goal says, I want a promotion. An agenda says, I am becoming indispensable to the people who decide promotions. I am gathering leverage, information, and timing until saying no to me becomes impossible. Feel the difference in weight. One asks, the other positions. When you operate with an agenda instead of a goal, your behavior changes without effort. You talk less, not because you are shy, but because you have nothing to prove. You listen more because information becomes more valuable than validation. You act with precision because every move is connected to leverage instead of applause. Silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling powerful. There is a calm that comes from knowing you are building something quietly while others are still announcing what they hope to do. Talking leaks power because words release energy outward. Execution generates power because action stores energy inward. Think about how fragile most ambition is today. People need to be seen trying. They need encouragement before results. They need permission to feel important. An agenda removes all of that. It is private. It is patient. It does not require belief from others. It only requires discipline from you. When you stop advertising your intentions, something unexpected happens. Your confidence becomes heavier. Your presence becomes harder to read. People feel that you are holding something back, and that mystery creates respect. You stop seeking applause for potential and start demanding respect through outcomes. This is not secrecy for drama. This is energy conservation. Power grows in darkness. Results announce themselves without explanation. The world is full of people explaining what they are about to do. Very few are quietly arranging conditions so that what they want becomes unavoidable. When you learn to keep an agenda instead of broadcasting a goal, you stop living like a performer and start moving like a strategist. And that shift alone will separate you from most people long before any visible success appears. When you live by goals, chaos feels like an enemy that keeps ruining your plans. But when you live by a system, chaos becomes fuel that forces you to grow. This difference is not philosophical, it is practical and deeply emotional. A goal-based mindset sees disruption as proof of failure. A system-based mindset sees disruption as a signal to adapt. Imagine two people losing their job on the same day. The goal-driven person thinks, "I failed, my plan is broken, everything I worked for is gone." The strategist thinks, "The terrain has shifted, my comfort has been removed, now I must upgrade." The event is identical. The response determines who collapses and who sharpens. This is why Machiavellian thinking feels cold to people who depend on certainty. Niccolo Machiavelli did not fear loss itself. He feared dependency. He feared being trapped in a position where survival depended on conditions staying stable. That is why he wrote about fortuna, the unpredictable force of luck, timing, and chaos that crashes into every life without warning. You cannot control fortuna, but you can control how ready you are when she strikes. Most people never ask themselves the question that actually matters. If everything I have disappeared tomorrow, would I know exactly what to do next? Not what I hope to do, not what I wish would happen, but what I would actually execute. If that question makes you uncomfortable, that discomfort is not weakness. It is information. It tells you that your stability is fragile, that your confidence depends on circumstances staying friendly. Goals train you to need things to go right. Systems train you to function when things go wrong. That is why chaos exposes people so brutally. It strips away plans and reveals preparation. When life hits hard, goals crack because they are built on predictions. Systems hold because they are built on capability. Think about physical strength. A man who only trains when conditions are perfect collapses under stress. A man who trains in resistance grows stronger from it. The same rule applies mentally and strategically. Chaos forces decisions. It removes excuses. It creates urgency. For someone without a system, urgency creates panic. For someone with a system, urgency creates focus. This is why the strategist does not curse disorder. He studies it. He asks what advantage this disruption creates that did not exist before. Losing comfort increases necessity. Increased necessity sharpens perception. Sharper perception leads to better positioning. This is how chaos becomes fuel instead of poison. Most people want stability because they want to feel safe. The strategist wants readiness because safety is temporary. When you stop trying to protect yourself from chaos and start training yourself to move inside it, fear changes shape. You stop asking, how do I avoid disruption, and start asking, how do I benefit from it? That shift alone changes how you walk into uncertainty. You are no longer praying for calm conditions. You are prepared for pressure. And that is the moment chaos loses its power to break you. Because what once threatened your identity now strengthens your position. Thus, loving yourself too much is one of the most socially accepted ways to become weak. Because comfort feels kind, but slowly erodes authority. When you constantly excuse your impulses, you train yourself to be negotiated with. You let yourself sleep in even when you know you shouldn't. You eat whatever is easy instead of what is necessary. You delay the hard task because you don't feel ready yet. None of this looks dangerous in isolation, but together, they build a quiet pattern of disobedience inside your own mind. Niccolo Machiavelli would have understood this immediately. He believed that a ruler who shows mercy to rebellion invites chaos. And your impulses are exactly that. Small rebellions against the future version of you who wants strength and control. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment, as suffering, as something harsh and joyless. But that misunderstanding is why most people avoid it. Discipline is not about hurting yourself. Discipline is personal sovereignty. It is the ability to issue a command and trust that it will be followed. Think about how fragile most motivation is. People wait to feel inspired before acting. They look for encouragement, playlists, speeches, perfect moods. That means their behavior is controlled by emotion. A disciplined person operates differently. There is no goal like lose weight or get fit. There is a law. I do not negotiate with cravings. I do not ask how I feel. I execute the rule. That shift changes everything. When you control yourself, your presence changes. You walk into a room differently because you know you are not dependent on comfort. You do not need external motivation because you have internal command. You do not need applause because you are not performing. You are enforcing standards. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from affirmations, not from being told you are enough. Confidence grows when you see yourself obey your own rules consistently. Over time, that creates a quiet fear inside you. Not fear of failure, but fear of becoming undisciplined again. And that fear is healthy. It keeps the rebellion down. It keeps order inside your mind. Most people want to be kind to themselves because they are tired. They are exhausted from inconsistency. They try to love themselves into progress. But impulses do not respond to love. They respond to structure. When you remove negotiation, life becomes simpler. There is less mental noise, fewer internal debates, fewer excuses. Discipline removes friction. It frees energy. That is why discipline is the only freedom. When you can command yourself to do the hard thing and actually do it, you are no longer a slave to moods, stress, or circumstances. You become predictable to yourself, and that reliability is power. People sense it. They do not know why you feel solid, but they feel it. While others wait to feel ready, you move. While others seek motivation, you operate. And slowly, without drama, You become someone who cannot be easily shaken, because the strongest authority in your life is no longer external. It is the law you enforce within. No goal will save you. No plan written in a notebook will arrive at your door and pull you out of confusion. No future version of yourself is coming to rescue you. What actually remains when the noise fades is simple. The position you choose to stand in, the system you build around your actions, the discipline you enforce when nobody is watching. While others chase the future, you take control of the present. While they dream, you prepare. While they talk, you execute. And when results finally appear, they do not ask for permission or explanation. They speak for themselves. This is the quiet power most people never experience because they keep outsourcing their confidence to outcomes. You do not need goals to feel alive. You need internal authority. You need a way of operating that holds when motivation disappears and circumstances turn hostile. A system does not promise happiness. It promises continuity. It gives you something to do on good days and bad days alike. It removes the drama from progress and replaces it with direction. This path is colder than chasing dreams because it offers no emotional comfort and no applause. It demands responsibility instead of hope. But it is real. It is stable. It does not collapse when the future refuses to cooperate. When you delete goals, you stop bargaining with time. You stop living on credit. You stop waiting for life to start. You begin constructing leverage in small, repeatable actions that compound quietly. Position over fantasy. Structure over desire. Law over mood. This is not a message for everyone. Many people prefer warmth to truth and reassurance to control. But if you are done feeling anxious, done feeling behind, done feeling dependent on outcomes you cannot command, then this is your exit. Stand correctly. Build relentlessly. Enforce discipline without negotiation. The rest will take care of itself. Cold paths forge clarity, patience, and strength. And those qualities outlast trends, motivation, and luck, turning ordinary days into steady progress that compounds long after noise fades. When results arrive, you are already standing where power lives.